Do you know that when you sense that a relationship could be so much more honest, more alive, more empowering, but you keep getting stuck in surface level issues and unspoken expectations? Well, what I do is create empowered relationships by building a safe and courageous space designed for clear agreements and evoking real transformation. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, follow the show. It helps more people find this weekly pause. Thank you so much. Welcome to JORMAZIN, your space to pause, to calm down, reconnect to your roots, awaken your spirit, and see what truly matters. This podcast is called JORMAZIN for a reason. You are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. Nothing's missing, and you're not broken. And when something's difficult, I don't want to begin with judgment. I want to begin with curiosity. I'm Jorma. I'm a coactive coach building my own practice, and I've worked in corporate for more than 20 years. So today, we are talking about empowered relationships and how they can change when we stop managing the surface and start consciously creating the space between us. And I want to make this practical for you, because this is not only true in coaching, this is true in leadership, in teams, in stakeholder conversations, in friendships, in partnerships, in every relationship where two human beings meet, and every relationship that is important for you. So let's dive in. I think many relationships stay small because they are never consciously designed. We talk about the task, or we talk about the problem. Sometimes we talk about an update, but we rarely talk about the relationship itself. We rarely say, how do we actually want to be with each other? What do we need when things get hard? What helps us to stay honest? And what helps us to stay human? And because those things stay unspoken, the relationship starts running on assumptions. And assumptions are expensive. At work, that can look like politeness instead of truth. With a partner, that can look like repeating the same pattern again and again. With friends, that can look like distance, where there could have been depth. And in leadership, for example, that can look like people managing roles instead of actually meeting as humans. For me, an empowered relationship is not perfect. It's a relationship where the space between people becomes strong enough to hold honesty, emotions, difference, and growth. It's not just about performance or harmony, not just getting through the agenda. It's real relationship. And I want to make this very real. In the past, especially at work, I often tried to be professional by hiding parts of myself. If I was stressed, I would try not to show it. If something personal was affecting me, I would keep it to myself. If emotion came up, I would try to manage it internally and stay in my role. I thought that was professionalism. But over time I noticed something. When I stayed hidden, the relationship stayed limited. So people could work with me, but they couldn't fully meet me. And when that happens, the relationship often becomes functional, but not fully alive. So I started to do something different. In some important work relationships, with colleagues, stakeholders, with people I really needed to work well with, I began opening up more honestly. Not in a dramatic way, not oversharing, but humanly. I started saying things like, today I'm really stressed. Or there's something personal going on, so if I seem a bit off, that's why. Or, for example, this relationship is important to me. Can we really meet eye to eye here? Or, let's not only stay in the role right now, let's also be human. That's an invitation, right? And I noticed that the moment I did that, something shifted. I wasn't just sharing information, I was designing the relationship in that moment. I was helping create the space. I was giving permission for honesty, for example. I was making it safer for what was actually true to enter the room. And often the other person would meet me there. They would open up too. They would become more direct, more real, and more collaborative. And the relationship started functioning better. Not because we became less professional, but because we became more human. Because sometimes what a relationship needs is not another update or another task list, another perfectly managed conversation. Sometimes what it needs is realignment, kind of a return. Let's call it a pause where someone says, let's come back to the human side. And what I've also seen is that different moments need different agreements. What works in one session may not work in another one. So, empowered relationships are not designed once, they are designed, noticed, and redesigned over time. So, if I put this simply, there are three things that help create an empowered relationship. First, create a safe and courageous space. It should be safe enough that people can tell the truth, courageous enough that truth is actually welcomed. It's not about fake harmony, not walking on eggshells, and not performance. It's about real trust and real presence. We can create a room for what is here in the moment. Second, design the relationship. Don't leave the relationship on autopilot. Name what you need. Ask what the other person needs. And talk about how you want to work together. Talk about how you want to handle tension, feedback, emotions, honesty, silence, conflict, pace, and expectations. Most people never do this. And then they wonder why the relationship keeps frustrating them. Third, allow the relationship to transform something. Not every conversation is just about solving the issue of the day. Sometimes the deeper invitation is, who are we becoming in this relationship? And we can decide. Is it more defended, more careful, more distant? Or is it more honest, more grounded, or more alive, more trusting? And that is really where the goal is. Because empowered relationships do not only help us handle situations better, they change who we are inside them. Okay, let's do a short pause together. Bring one relationship to your mind right now. Is it a work relationship, a friendship, a partnership, a family relationship? Any relationship where something matters right now. Pick one and take a slow breath. And another. And now ask yourself, what is happening on the surface of this relationship right now? What is the issue? What keeps repeating? What feels tense or unclear, distant or unfinished? Just notice it. And now go one layer deeper. What has not been said yet? What truth is sitting underneath the surface? Maybe it's a need. Maybe it's an emotion. Maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it's a request. Or maybe it's simply, this relationship matters to me. Take one breath. And now ask, does this relationship feel safe enough for truth? And what would make it more courageous? Not more dramatic, not more intense, just more real. And now ask yourself, what agreement is missing here? What has never been clearly spoken? How do we want to talk to each other? What do I need when things get hard? What might they need? What would help us to meet more clearly, more honestly, more humanly? And take another breath. And now, a deeper question. Ask yourself, who am I becoming in this relationship if nothing changes? And who do I want to be in this relationship? More shut down or more open? More careful or more truthful? More managed or more alive? And now choose one small courageous step. One conversation. One sentence. One truth. One request. One reset. Make it something you can do in the next 24 hours. And say to yourself, I choose to create the relationship I want to be in. And now one last breath. And that's the pause. And here's your question for the week. What relationship in your life is asking to be consciously redesigned? Or maybe even more simply, what truth could make this relationship more alive? If this pause helped you, follow or subscribe so you can come back next time. And if someone came to mind while listening, maybe send this episode to them. I'll see you in the next pause. Because sometimes the real shift is not in fixing the issue, it's in changing the space between us. I'm Jorma, and you're amazing. Bye.